Good afternoon, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV. Well, we are here live. Why? Because the White House is going to hold a press briefing with a, quote, special guest in less than an hour. And look, I can't tell you who this is going to be. One of our mods, Kay, thinks it's going to be the Easter Bunny. That's not the worst idea, given that they are having an Easter dinner at the White House, I believe, tonight. But you never know. It could be President Trump. It could be lots of people. So we're going to cover it. I just don't want you blaming me if you're disappointed. I'm not making any promises. It's called a White House briefing. It's called a White House press briefing. I assume that means questions are going to be taken. It'd be kind of weird if they had the Easter Bunny for 2 minutes and no questions. That doesn't really sound like a press briefing to me. So it is called a press briefing for whatever that's worth. Okay? But don't blame me. I don't make any promises. We'll do a poll maybe. By the way, thanks to our moderators who are here. We have moderating Sarah 55, Beth Mythical over on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. We have, hold on, Linda Belk, Larry, Misha moderate for us over on X. Over on Twitch, we have Matthew Kohai 3 and Papa Bear. And thanks to our Facebook moderators. Did you like the special guest thumbnail I made? Let's see here. Hang on a second here. Are we live on Facebook? Is Facebook not live? Something happened with Facebook. I got to check. I might have to redo that. Hold on a second. Hang on. Once in a while, I try to go live and something doesn't work and I have to redo it. Oh, Facebook looks like it's having issues. Hang on a second. Facebook looks like it's having issues. There might be streaming issues with Facebook. Let's try this again. I think Facebook is having live streaming issues. I'm going to post a message on our social media about that because I don't have control over that. Let me just do that real quick. Sorry to all of our Facebook viewers, but Facebook live streaming appears to not be working at the moment. Apologies to our Facebook viewers. You can watch the current stream live at one of our other platforms. Such as YouTube. Let me actually post this over there too. All right. If it's, I'll check again in a little bit, and if it starts working again, we'll go live over there. But sometimes these things don't work. I'm going to try one more time. On Facebook, I'm going to try one more time. Oh, is it working now? I think it's about to be working. Fingers crossed. Are we live yet on Facebook? Let's see. Nope, it's not working. Facebook's having streaming issues today. Well, I'll have to try it later. By the way, a quick thank you to, thank you so much to Stephen Roberts, thanks for the gift membership, Stephen, and thanks for being a member. That's really nice of you. Stephen Roberts, Raina Hood, our member, Schaff, our member, who says, I'm the special guest. Schaff thinks he is a special guest. Ryan Teasdale, thank you, Ryan. Thanks, Kevin Cash. Thanks so much, Kevin, for your support. Carrie Poteet, thanks for being a member. She thinks it's RFK Jr. dressed as the Easter Bunny. Sumi Sue is hoping through Bigfoot. Thanks to Geraldine Karstensen, our new member. Thank you, Geraldine. I'm going to read some of your other suggestions right now. Let me show you guys. Here's the post from Karoline Leavitt about this. You'll see it in a second. Well, oh, I know why you can't see it. I know why you can't see it. You'll be able to see it now. Press briefing at 4:30 p.m., that's Eastern Time, with a special guest. Tune in. Again, I'm not making any promises. If it's a 2-minute long thing with a person in an Easter Bunny costume, don't blame me. If I knew that were the case, I would not be covering it. I can assure you of that. If I knew it were going to be the Easter Bunny and it's not going to be a real press briefing, I would not be covering it. But I don't know that. It could be President Trump for all I know. So I need to cover it, but just don't blame me if you're underwhelmed. Waltham says this has better be good. Electronic Progression says Trump in the costume. Chris N says maybe Trump. I feel like in his first term, am I right in that during Trump's first term, once in a while, wouldn't he make an appearance at the press briefing, in the press briefing room? Aren't I correct about that? I don't think he's done it this term. But I feel like he's done it before. A bunch of our viewers are saying yes. So you never know. You never know. You know, because he didn't have another public appearance scheduled today that I'm aware of. There's the, if I look at the White House schedule here, I can pull it up in front of me. Yeah, so there's no appearance. Actually, I take it back. At 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, there's the president participates in an Easter prayer service and dinner. Now, maybe they'll show some of that. But, I mean, there's no during the day kind of political thing. So maybe he wanted to do an appearance today and talk about stuff. And he said, you know, let's do it before the Easter dinner and prayer service. I don't know. Also, I was thinking it could be some random celebrity. Again, this wasn't planned, though. I mean, this was posted. It was posted about at 1:45. I guess if you're thinking, one reason to think it could be Trump is that it was posted at 1:45. If it was going to be the Easter Bunny, is that something they would post about like literally 2 hours and 45 minutes beforehand? Isn't that something they might more do during a regularly scheduled press briefing? Like, would they? I don't know. I mean, it's just, you know, they're going to have other press briefings this week, I would assume. So, given that this press briefing was just scheduled all of a sudden, one of our viewers thinks it'll be Katy Perry, the astronaut. Worm says it'll be Trump in the Easter Bunny suit like the Masked Singer. All right, let's see here. I haven't seen any reporting about what it will be. We'll take some more comments on that. Maybe we'll do a poll right now. By the way, a quick update on the stock market. A quick update on stocks. Stock market down. U.S. stock market down today. Dow down about 2%. S&P 500 down almost 3%. NASDAQ down almost 4%. Let's do a poll on the press briefing right now. Let's do that. Then we'll talk about some of the other news going on today. Actually, give me one moment here. All right, so who do you think the special guest is? What should our poll be? Who will the special guest be? Two of the choices should be Trump and Easter Bunny. I'm going to give three choices. Trump, Easter Bunny, someone else. Those are the three choices in the poll. All right, I just posted the poll on YouTube. Now I'm posting it on Twitch. Facebook, for some reason, the streaming is not working. Today. Okay, I just posted it on Facebook. I'm going to show you guys the results right now. Let me try, I'll do one more time. I'll try Facebook and see if somehow they fix the streaming over there. Let me try that one more time. Give you a sec to vote in the poll. All right, I'm trying Facebook one more time. Is it going to work? I bet it doesn't work. It doesn't seem to be working. I'm trying. Nope, not working. All right, anyways. Okay, so I'm going to show you now the poll results. Here, by the way, is the announcement. Press briefing at 4:30 p.m. with a special guest tune in from the White House press secretary. That announcement was made at 1:45 p.m. Eastern, just 2 hours and 45 minutes before the briefing. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys right now what your vote in the poll is. Here it is. Here it is for the briefing. Oops, I'm hearing two of me. Nope, we're good. We're good. One moment. Oh, now this is all not working. Oh no, what a disaster. I'm having an issue with my keyboard here. I might have to pull the key out. Why is this happening? The escape key is stuck. Does the keyboard still work? Does the rest of the keyboard still work? Hold on a second here. Yes, it might not be a disaster. Oh no, I fixed it. I fixed it. The escape key is back. We're back. I'm still in Lima, Peru for a little bit longer. So bear with me here. I'm not in my usual setup. Okay, here's what people said on YouTube. Who will the special guest be? 42% said somebody else. 23% said Trump, and 35% said Easter Bunny. And then on Twitch, let me show you what people are saying over there. It's interesting, on Twitch, look at this. Only 6% of you on Twitch say it's going to be Trump. 6% Trump, 43% Easter Bunny, 51% someone else. One of our viewers said, AO thinks we're going to get Rick ruled. AO thinks it's going to be Rick Astley, never going to give you up. What if it is Rick Astley? Melania Trump says, go Jew. Peggy wants us to do a poll if the guest will be lame or exciting. If we do another poll, maybe we'll do that, maybe. We're doing a poll right now. But again, it is called a press briefing. So I think at the very least we have the right to expect questions being taken. Now, let me also say, since it's a press briefing, I assume they're going to fill the room with the press, right? So again, don't blame me if you're underwhelmed. I don't take responsibility for this. All right, thanks for voting in the poll. Oh, by the way, over on Twitch, Easter Bunny is now the top choice on Twitch, whereas someone else is still the top choice over on YouTube. All right, I'm ending the poll now. We're ending the poll. We'll see. In the meantime, and I'll keep an eye on breaking news as well. If I hear anything about it, I'll let you know. So I want to give you an update in case you hadn't seen it. Senator Chris Van Hollen, a Democrat from Maryland, went today to El Salvador trying to get information on and meet with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who is the migrant from El Salvador who was living in Maryland, married to a U.S. citizen, and working, I believe, had a work permit. Originally entered the country illegally, but had a work permit to work in the U.S. And also in 2019 there was a ruling by a judge that said don't deport this person to El Salvador. And then in March, he was deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador. And then the Trump administration said in court, well, we made a mistake. It was an administrative mistake. He shouldn't have been deported there. And the Supreme Court has now ruled that the Trump administration must facilitate bringing him back to the U.S. But at this point, there's no evidence that the Trump administration has made any positive steps toward bringing him back to the U.S. Anyways, Senator Van Hollen of Maryland, a Democratic senator, actually went to El Salvador today, and there's an update about that I wanted to let you know about. I don't know that I'm going to play. There was a video of him, but I don't know that I want to get into playing the video now. Well, I could play I might play a little bit of it. We'll see. There's also a court order I want to talk about. There's a different thing I wanted to mention, but let's just talk about this for a second. We can take some comments on it. By the way, if today is a legitimate press briefing and not like the Easter Bunny getting asked questions for 5 minutes, I expect this to be asked about. I would think this is one of the top questions that would be asked about, so I think it's worth discussing. Top topics to be asked about. I can't guarantee what this special guest press briefing will be. Anyways, oh, by the way, thanks to Dark Crypto for the bits on Twitch. Thanks, Beautiful Profanity, for subscribing on Twitch. I appreciate that. Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen traveled to El Salvador today and met with the country's vice president to push for the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a man who was sent there by the Trump administration in March, despite an immigration court order preventing his deportation there, says AP. Van Hollen said at a news conference in San Salvador after the meeting that Vice President Felix Ulloa is it, and his government could not return Abrego Garcia to the U.S. and declined to allow Van Hollen to visit him in the notorious gang prison where he is being held. Senator Van Hollen said, "Why is the government of El Salvador continuing to imprison a man when they have no evidence that he's committed any crime, and they have not been provided any evidence from the United States that he has committed any crime? They should just let him go." He also said, because I remember seeing this, Van Hollen said he was not permitted to talk to Abrego Garcia on the phone. The Trump administration and Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele said this week they have no basis to send him back, even as the U.S. Supreme Court has called on the administration to facilitate his return. Trump officials have said that Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran citizen who was living in Maryland, Trump officials have said he has ties to MS-13. Well, they've said he's in MS-13. Trump officials have said he's in MS-13, and they've also said he's a human trafficker without presenting evidence of that. His attorneys say the government has provided no evidence of that, and Abrego Garcia has disputed the claim that he's part of the gang. He has never been charged with any crime related to any such activity. I don't believe he's been charged with a crime in either the U.S. or El Salvador or anywhere else. Okay. Democrats have seized on the case to highlight what they say is President Trump's disrespect for the courts. Let's see here. There may be other Democrats who travel to El Salvador too. Some Republicans have planned trips to the prison as well in support of the Trump administration's efforts. And then something else. All right, so hang on one second here. You can see here in the Reuters story says, El Salvador blocks U.S. senator from visiting wrongly deported Salvadoran man. Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen said today authorities in El Salvador had denied him access to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Salvadoran man mistakenly deported and being held in a notorious prison in El Salvador. Van Hollen arrived in El Salvador this morning, saying he would seek to meet with senior Salvadoran officials to secure Abrego Garcia's release, but he told reporters El Salvador's vice president had told him he could not authorize a visit or a call with Abrego Garcia. He also said, the Senator Van Hollen also said that the vice president of El Salvador had told him that El Salvador was not releasing Abrego Garcia because the U.S. is paying to keep him incarcerated. By the way, there's a little video here that I can show you on this from the Reuters article. Let me play this, and then I'll take a few of your comments about this. And again, if there is there is supposed to be a press briefing today. That's why we're on the air covering this. If this is a regular press briefing and not Easter Bunny answering questions for 5 minutes, I do expect this to be asked about. So I wanted to mention it. But let me play this for you now, if I can pull it up on the screen here for you. All right, hold on. Hang on one moment. I'm pulling it up for you right now on the screen. Okay, here's the Reuters video that goes with that article about Chris Van Hollen. Let's watch this for a minute.
I'm about to board my flight for San Salvador.
U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland said on Wednesday he was flying to El Salvador to check on a wrongly deported man and discuss his release with officials there. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran who was working legally in the U.S., was sent there on March 15th, despite a court order preventing the deportation. His case has sparked protests, while judges have ordered President Donald Trump's administration to help bring him back to the U.S.
The Supreme Court has ruled 9-0, 9-0, that he was illegally taken out of the country and put in a prison in El Salvador. And this is about due process. This is about rule of law.
Van Hollen's fellow Democrats say the case shows worrying signs that the Trump White House is willing to disregard the judiciary. It comes as lawyers representing Venezuelans sent by the U.S. to an El Salvador prison say their clients are being denied access to attorneys and contact with the outside world. A deal struck between Trump and the Salvadoran government in March saw hundreds of Venezuelans sent to Latin America's largest prison, the Terrorism Confinement Center, in an immigration crackdown. The lawyers say they have not been able to visit, speak to, or find out the whereabouts and conditions of their clients. They say they have also only been able to gain the clients' identities through leaked information. Private attorneys paid for by the families of the deported have filed writs of habeas corpus at El Salvador's Supreme Court. That's to try and compel the government to justify the Venezuelan deportees' detention or release them. Jaime Ortega, whose law firm is representing dozens of them, told Reuters he has received no response to any of those petitions. Salvadoran rights group Crystal Sal is preparing habeas corpus claims for more than 100 Venezuelans. But director Noah Bullock is not optimistic, saying his group previously filed over 7,200 claims for local Salvadorans.
And less than 1% of those claims have been resolved by the court. So in the case of the Venezuelans deported to El Salvador, we don't have much confidence that the courts will be able to show independence and provide judicial relief to those people.
Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele, who visited the White House on Monday, has overseen the removal of his country's Attorney General and all 5 Supreme Court judges who were replaced by loyalists. El Salvador's presidency did not immediately respond to requests for comment.
All right, so I'm going to take some comments from you guys, but again, I do expect that to be asked about today. It was certainly asked about, was it yesterday that we covered the press briefing? That video was from Reuters. But I don't know who the special guest will be today. Again, there's a White House press briefing in about a half an hour, 4:30 Eastern time, with a special guest. This was announced about an hour and 15 minutes ago that this was happening. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know. It could be President Trump. It could be the Easter Bunny. It could be somebody else. So we'll have to see what happens. Hold on a second here. Let me take some comments from you guys. B. Earhart thinks the guest will be Jack Dorsey. Suzanne Wallach says it's weird the U.S. is paying to imprison people out of the country. Why not simply deport? Well, one thing is you have to, if you're going to deport somebody, you have to get permission from some other country to take them in. Unless you were going to do something like fly a plane and put a parachute on the person or something, and then just push them out of the plane. And then they land in the country and it's like, okay, you're there now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to have some arrangement with the country. So you have to find people to take people. Some countries might not want to take people, even if it's their own citizens or something. Maybe they don't agree with the deportation or something. So that's one. It's an interesting question you ask, but to be clear, again, unless you're going to literally just do something where you force drop people somewhere, you need to have some sort of agreement. If I remember right, if I remember right, I've read articles talking about how that can be an issue with deportations, finding someone to take them. Give me 1 second here. One moment. One moment. Hey, by the way, quick thanks to JD63, who says, I want this back if it's Karoline in an Easter Bunny costume. Thank you, JD63. I'm hoping it's something a little more newsworthy than an Easter Bunny costume, but we'll have to see. I hope we at least get a press briefing out of it. It's supposed to be, it's called a press briefing. Thank you, It Was Nikki, for being a member. I also owe a thank you to, hold on a second here. Tony Baloney, thanks for your support. Thanks also to Kay Chang, who says facilitate meaning not blocking reentry, not deport him again. So I know, Kay Chang, that the administration has argued that that's what facilitate means. That's not, I believe, the standard of interpretation of what the Supreme Court said facilitate means. I believe that the judge had something to say about this. Judge Zenas, was it, yesterday? If I can find something about that. By the way, thank you, Kay Chang. I really appreciate your support. Also, Dennis Kennedy, Lee Russell, Queen of the South. Is it Golden Dogs? I'll get to that in a second. Hold on a second here. Golden Dogs, Twitter Pated. Sharon Goslin, thanks for the gift membership. Sharon Goslin, thank you. Hold on a second here. Yes, I believe it was yesterday that the judge overseeing, the district judge Zenas overseeing the Abrego Garcia case, said that the administration's interpretation of the meaning of facilitate is contrary to the plain meaning of the word. Maybe I can show you something about this real quick. Here, right here. This is from yesterday. Judge orders Trump officials to testify about efforts to return wrongly deported man. And you can see here it says, get facilitate for you. Yesterday, a U.S. district judge said she would not immediately hold the government in contempt of court, but said documents and closed-door testimony would help her weigh the Trump administration's compliance with her order to facilitate Kilmar Abrego Garcia's return. And what you can see here is it says here that the government lawyer, Drew Ensign, said officials, where is it here? said the administration interpreted the order to facilitate his return to mean they should remove any U.S. barriers to his return to the U.S. Whereas the judge responded that that interpretation of the meaning of the word facilitate is contrary to the plain meaning of the word. All right, by the way, let's just get back and talk about the press briefing for a second. So that topic, very well, if there is a real press briefing and it's not the if it's not the Easter Bunny for 5 minutes, I expect that topic to be asked about. We have 23 minutes till this starts. I'm not aware there's any reporting on who the special guest will be yet. But at 1:45 Eastern Time, the press secretary announced that there would be a press briefing previously unscheduled with a special guest at 4:30 Eastern Time. I don't know who that is. Some of our viewers think it's President Trump. Some of our viewers think it's the Easter Bunny. Some of our viewers think it's somebody else. It is being called a press briefing. The press will be there. So it would be strange to me if it's like, by the way, there is a White House Easter, what is it called tonight? There's at 6:30 Eastern, there's a Easter prayer service and dinner at the White House. There is that. It would seem odd to me to bring the press in and call it a press briefing and have it be the Easter Bunny saying hello to everybody for 5 minutes. So, as I said earlier, if I knew that was going to be this, then I wouldn't be covering it and let you guys watch it if you want on your own, wherever you choose to watch it. But I don't know what's going to happen. As I said earlier, I do believe that President Trump in his first term sometimes showed up in the press briefing room. So you never know. You never know what's going to happen. Maybe it'll be a celebrity. Our viewer Atheos thinks it's Hulk Hogan. But it's different than bringing a celebrity in. Again, sometimes there are press briefings. This happened in the Biden White House sometimes too. Sometimes there are press briefings where it's a regularly scheduled briefing and they'll bring somebody in like as a surprise for a little bit, like a celebrity or something, and then they'll have the briefing. This is a case where there wasn't supposed to be a briefing at all today. And then 2 hours and 45 minutes before they announce a press briefing. Context Clueless says that is absolutely something they would do. You mean with the Easter Bunny or something else? Joe Rogan and Dana White? Thank you, Robert Dyer. Robert thinks the story about Abrego Garcia is getting way too much traction. Well, I think the concern of some people who are following the story is that it's a court order being, they would argue it's a court order not being followed by the government. And also they would argue that it's a case of somebody being taken out of the U.S. who there hasn't been public evidence presented that they merited being taken out of the U.S. The U.S. government has said in court that it was a mistake to take them out of the U.S. And now they're in a prison in El Salvador, and the government doesn't appear to be making any effort to get them back. So, I think those are two reasons why people who are making a big deal out of the story think it's really important. Yes, it was the mistake was that the mistake was there was a, as I've said previously, he had an order not to be sent to El Salvador, and he was sent to El Salvador. Anyways, we'll see what happens. If it's a real press briefing, we'll see if that's asked about. By the way, thank you to Boomer Wow for your support. And also, the Karzar, thanks for your support. The Karzar says the head of Homeland Security verified his gang involvement. Look, I'll just say this again. The Trump administration claims he's in MS-13. There is no compelling publicly available evidence that he's in MS-13. The judge on his current case, District Judge Zenas, says that the claim in 2019 he was in MS-13 was based on an anonymous informant and the fact that he was wearing, what was it, a Bill's hat and shirt, a Bull's hat and shirt. She does not find the evidence compelling. Now, maybe the administration has all kinds of compelling evidence that is not public, but there is not publicly available evidence that's compelling evidence that shows he is in MS-13. So at a certain point, if you're a member of the public like me or you watching this, you will have to just decide whether you agree with the administration's claims that he's in MS-13 or not. And I can't tell you what to feel about that. We have 16 minutes until the White House press briefing with a mystery guest. 16 minutes. We're going to find out soon who the mystery guest is. Thank you, the Karzar, who says, do you think MS-13 has member list and rosters they're going to advertise? Look, I'll say it again. Maybe the administration has very compelling, slam dunk evidence he's in MS-13 that they haven't made public. And maybe they don't. I can't tell you which one it is. I don't know. We don't know as public. I'm just going off. I'm just saying it is not controversial to say there is no compelling, publicly available evidence that has been made public. I don't know what kind of evidence the government has. Similar questions have been raised about some of the people taken, some of the Venezuelan citizens who were deported by plane to El Salvador, I believe in March, was it? Where the Trump administration says they're all gang members, we're sure they're gang members, but we in the public don't have the access to the evidence that was used to make that decision. So I don't know what kind of evidence they have. I just don't know. Thank you, the Karzar, though. I appreciate it. I appreciate your comment and your support. Thank you also, Jim. Jim thinks the bottom line is the court has ordered him back and the Trump administration must follow the law. So, again, the Supreme Court said the Trump administration must facilitate his return to the U.S. Thank you, Jim, for your support. Now, there's this other thing, really quick. I don't want to get too down this road. A whole other thing that, if this is a real press briefing coming up and not the Easter Bunny for 5 minutes, that what I think would be asked about today is this story. Judge finds cause to hold Trump administration in criminal contempt for violating deportation order. So this is not the Abrego Garcia story specifically. This is a story where a judge, when several planes were taking, I think at least mostly Venezuelan citizens, from the U.S., deporting them to El Salvador. A judge had ordered the planes to be turned around, but the planes were not turned around. And now what you can see here is a federal judge on Wednesday said he found probable cause to hold the Trump administration in criminal contempt of court and warned he could seek officials' prosecution for violating his orders last month to turn around planes carrying deportees to an El Salvador prison. The ruling from Judge James E. Boasberg, whom President Trump has said should be impeached, marks a dramatic battle between the judicial and executive branches of government over the president's powers to carry out key White House priorities. Boasberg accused administration officials of rushing deportees out of the country under the Alien Enemies Act last month before they could challenge their removal in court, and then willfully disregarding his order that planes already in the air should return to the U.S. The judge said he could hold hearings and potentially refer the matter for prosecution if the administration does not act to remedy the violation. I don't know that the Trump administration Justice Department is going to prosecute such cases. If Trump's Justice Department leadership declines to prosecute the matter, Boasberg says he will appoint another attorney to do so. The administration said it would appeal. The White House Communications Director Stephen Chung wrote, "The president is 100% committed to ensuring that terrorists and criminal illegal migrants are no longer a threat to Americans and their communities across the country." The administration said it would appeal. The case has become one of the most contentious amid a slew of legal battles being waged against the Republican administration that has put the White House on a collision course with the federal courts. So, something else, if this is a real press briefing, I expect this to be asked about. We'll see. Speaking of which, we have 10 minutes till the press briefing. Oh, do I have video from the press briefing room yet? No, but I need to get ready to show you this. Give me a moment here. Let me get this ready to show you. One moment. One moment, please. One moment, please. Got about 9 minutes. Who will the mystery guest be? Who will it be? All right. Kim Jong-un. Tycho Dragon thinks it's Kim Jong-un. I don't have yet the video from the actual room. As soon as I get it, I will put it on the screen for you. Let me read some more comments about your guess about who it will be. I want to thank our moderators quickly too, and also thank Micah Cernkovich, who thinks maybe this has something to do today with the conclusion of the SEC versus Ripple case or the welcoming of the new SEC chairman. That's what Micah thinks. Thank you for your support, Micah. Thanks also Luke Supernov4 Sparks for being a member. Thank you to Channeling Gary for your support. Martin Gingrich for your support. Thank you, Martin. Martin, I believe the El Salvadoran government confirmed even today that he is in prison there. Martin says, are you sure he's in prison? I think that's been confirmed by the government, the El Salvadoran government. But don't hold me to that. But I mean, when Senator Van Hollen talked to the vice president today, and he gave a press conference after, he didn't say anything about having any doubts about him being in a prison there. Thanks to our moderators who are here, we have moderating right now. Big Ball of Yarn, I Got That Fire, Matthew Kohai 3, Tariag, over there on Twitch. Thank you so much for being there. Over on YouTube, Kay Chang says, do a poll if he should stay or be returned. Well, I don't know if I'm going to do that poll. We might do another poll soon. But I try to avoid doing polls that end up being too divisive, Hopefully that makes sense. Thank you, Kay Chang. Also, thank you, the Karzar. I appreciate that, the Karzar. I appreciate Karzar. Thank you also, K-Body moderating, Beth Mythical on YouTube. Thank you, Kay and Beth. Linda Bell, Glary, Misha on X. Facebook streaming has not been working today. I apologize to our Facebook viewers. Some of them I think are here, but I do apologize. I can try one more time, real quick. I can try and get the Facebook stream going, but I've tried multiple times, and the Facebook streaming is having an issue today. I'm going to try one more time here with Facebook. This is it. If it doesn't work this time, no more tries during this stream. There's an interesting story about the Pentagon. Maybe I can mention that for a second. The Facebook thing's not going to work. I'm trying with Facebook. No, it didn't work again. Let me just see if I have any other suggestions for who's going to be the mystery guest. Adrienne says, I'm ready to be unimpressed by the special guest. Rocket Man says it could be P. Diddy. Well, unless he's been released from custody, from prison, it will not be him. You never know, though. Billy Joe thinks it will be a ridiculous photo op. Cassandra Portugal thinks it will be Kash Patel. Andrew Haar also thinks it will be P. Diddy. Oh yeah, as context says, the Salvadoran president certainly implied that he was in a Salvadoran prison. Yes, he did say that. Again, I do not have yet any kind of video from the briefing room. Give me a moment. Let me just get something. Let me get something ready to show you. I'm getting it ready to show you now. Hold on. You can see we will begin shortly. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt briefs members of the media with a special guest. Again, this was kind of thrown together at the last minute, it seems like. Heather here thinks Pam Bondi. Can I Pet Something said it's going to be Trump. Just one reason to think it could be Trump, as I'll say again, is that this was thrown together so late. I mean, at least we didn't find out about this until 1:45 Eastern time. I don't know why, if it's the Easter Bunny, that's something they would just announce a special press briefing for less than 3 hours beforehand. You can have you could have an Easter Bunny appear at a regular press briefing. It's kind of, the idea is kind of weird to me that they're like, hey, in 3 hours, let's have a press briefing with the Easter Bunny. It certainly could happen. So, you know, I think it's more likely that President Trump would say, I want to answer some questions today. And he didn't have an appearance like there was no cabinet meeting scheduled, public cabinet meeting. There was no executive order signing scheduled. At the same time, it could just be a celebrity or something else. Who knows? I have no idea. Oh, it's Elon to give Doge findings. One of our viewers thinks it's Elon to give Doge findings. Interesting theory. Elon Musk. That's an interesting theory. Fun Employed says that may be it. Now, I think in a moment I'm going to start getting some video from the room. Putin? Melania? What if it's Melania Trump? Hey, thank you. That's very kind of you, Cecilia. Thank you. I think I'm about to get video from the room. Give me a moment here. Give me a moment here. I'm about to get some video from the room, I believe. Let me just check something real quick. Give me a second. Okay. Guys, look what I got for you. Look what I got for you. Look what I got for you. Oh my gosh. There's the room.
What I can do is I can just literally come right down here.
Oh my gosh. Oh no. I have a typo. It says the White House. The White House. It's the White House.
Right.
It's not the White House.
He's got to make, we got to see this. Almost bigger. I'm going to just go right here. Once you get the shot.
All right. You have a limited amount of time to make your predictions, guys. You know, if I had time to do a poll question, I'm not going to do it right now, is will this be a real press briefing? That's another question I have. Or will it just be some sort of special appearance? It's called a press briefing, but will it be a real press briefing? I just don't know. I just don't know.
Oh, do you know what it's at?
Now, when it starts, I might need to switch the camera angle to the other feed. So I'm warning you that could happen. By the way, thanks to Kay Chang. Thank you, Kay Chang. Who thinks they brought Abrego Garcia back to show off in handcuffs and then sending him back. One of the viewers thinks it's going to be the Village People. Please do not blame me. If you are not happy with the special guest, do not blame me. I have made you no promises. I have warned you. You might not be satisfied with the special guest. Another viewer thinks it's going to be Elon. One of the viewers said, "Why did you do this, Steve?" Barron? Someone said it's going to be Barron. Hey, thank you, Pickled Witch. Thank you, Pickled Witch.
And Mika's out of his iPhone. Yeah, who likes head on anyway?
Will it be longer than 10 minutes? The actual event? I have no idea. All right, guys, we're going to do this. We're getting ready to do this. It's also weird because, like, you can't even tell if it's going to be just like a jokey thing or a really serious thing.
Yeah, that's something else going on. Smile right there. I got a good shot at him up here.
Jokey or serious?
I'm just here just in case he gets questioned, basically. That's my main concern. That's what I really want to get.
Thank you, Kevin Cash, for your support. Kevin says Elon dressed as the Easter Bunny.
Almost every other already. That's my wires. The wiring, right? Very fancy wiring.
We've got some guesses of Dana White. You know, DG said maybe it's Kid Rock. I was joking to somebody that it would be Kid Rock. I don't think that would. Would they really announce a new press briefing in the middle of the day just to have Kid Rock? The other question is there some kind of big announcement to make or not? Or is it just like, let's have this person appear? If it's some announcement, it's been kept incredibly under wraps because I've heard no reporting about this at all. But again, it's not billed as an announcement. It's billed as a press brief.
Can we go hang out?
Oh, not that big.
Can I put my coat in there?
You can't take him like that.
Sam, you actually can't put your coat in there.
I wondered if there's like betting, like online betting markets have put up a betting option on this. I have no idea. I haven't checked. Now, will she walk in with the special guest, or will she introduce the special guest? Or will the special guest walk in first? I'm not seeing any reporting right now. I'm checking. CNN reports that the IRS is making plans to rescind the tax-exempt status of Harvard University. That's what CNN reports. We're now 6 minutes late. Paul S. thinks it'll be RFK Jr. Some people think it's going to be RFK Jr.
Yeah, it's like not working good.
How about J.D. Vance? Did anybody say J.D. Vance? Maybe J.D. Vance is going to be
So
it.
would you buy a new iPhone?
Or Marco Rubio.
Take your phone, gotta buy a new one.
Or Tom Homan.
thought they got sued or something over it.
Dark Dre said, I said Vance.
Slows it down, like made something not work.
Some people said Kash Patel.
That's what they tell you.
That's all they gotta do.
What if it's what's his name? Not Secretary of Commerce. Steve Witkoff. Could it be Steve Witkoff? Is he in the country? Some of the people are still saying Katy Perry in the chat. How about Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg? Usually if there's going to be like a business announcement or something, they don't do a press briefing. They'll just do a separate announcement. One of our viewers just said, I hope it's not an awful letdown. I feel like I'm going to get blamed for this. I really do. Thank you, Kitty Cat, who says maybe we got Greenland. What if it's Scott Bessent? What if it's like, here it is, our special guest, Scott Bessent.
That's why you hear me off mic.
It's underneath. It's underneath you.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Hi, here I am. Check it out. Okay.
That was the second one too.
Secretary of the Treasury. Hey, thank you, Martin Gingrich. Thank you, Martin. Martin says, I think it's going to be a money man like Elon Musk because Powell spoke.
There's a second one underneath you, I think. I think that's on that white stool underneath you.
I mean, it could be something about the economy.
Oh. Actually, this is me. Is that better?
One of our viewers suggested John McAfee, but he is no longer alive.
Gabe, you have the same thing. Then you go cheer.
Or maybe our guest was saying he had somehow, yeah, or is he one of our viewers said?
There's a
Maybe that's the
lavalier if you
idea.
want. And a stick.
Maybe it is military related. Hey, Pete Hegseth? How about that? What if it's Pete Hegseth? There's been this story, I will say, there has been this story reporting that several Pentagon, several people who work in the Pentagon have been like put on leave in the last den. Yes, Reuters says many outlets are talking about this. Reuters says a Pentagon investigation into leaks of classified and sensitive information has expanded to include more aides to Defense Secretary Hegseth. There are reports of, in the last couple days, several people being escorted out of the Pentagon in this leaking investigation. Now, I don't know that they would have a press briefing for this at the White House.
Yeah, press briefing by the White House press secretary Kilmar with the special guest.
You can hear the press talking about special guests.
Not too late. Please not. We can always hope. Yes.
One of our viewers, Bab, says exciting times. Mike Pence, somebody guessed? Julian Assange, somebody guessed? Buckethead.
Push it over one way or another.
A couple of viewers have said Alex Jones. I think right when it starts, I'm going to go to the White House feed. They don't have the monitors up today. You see that? They don't have the monitors up today. So I don't think they're going to show anything on the monitors. Because during the regular press briefings, a lot of times they'll have those monitors there. But that guy does have an iPad. He's plugging in his iPad. Maybe they are going to show something. He tried to plug in his iPad. Uh-oh. Now he's leaving. Bye. Mr. Bean. Somebody thinks it's going to be Mr. Bean. Hey, thanks to the Car Czar. Thanks to the Car Czar for your support. I really appreciate that. A released hostage from today, someone said? Like an Israeli hostage? Thanks to PZ Papa Zulu. PZ Papa Zulu, thank you so much. Yeah, a lot of viewers have said Easter Bunny. Just make sure of something here. Okay, we're good. We're good. Thank you, too, for your support. New next wow. Hey, how about Rory McIlroy? That's a good guest. He just won the Masters. I don't know if he supports Trump. Rory McIlroy, because Trump's into golf. He could come out wearing his green jacket. I don't know if he's allowed to take the green jacket away from the course, though. What do you guys think about that suggestion? Rory McIlroy?
Briefing, 2 minutes until the briefing.
2 minutes until the briefing.
Watch
2
out,
minutes.
big hole.
2 minutes. 2 minutes till the briefing. 2 minutes till the briefing. Wait, what's happening? There's people coming in. It's now less than 2 minutes. This briefing was announced at 1:45 Eastern Time, about 3 hours ago. All of a sudden. When it starts, I think I'm going to switch to the White House feed. So I apologize if there's a little jump in the video right when it starts. I'm going to try to catch it right when it starts and switch it right then. All right, guys, we're just waiting here. I'll say it one more time. Do not blame me if you're not happy with the guest. I have no control over who the guest is. And I do not know who the guest is. I am not promising anything. everybody waiting for the special guest. I mean, at this point, it really can't live up to the hype, can it? Although maybe it'll be President Trump. Thank you to New Next Wow. Thank you. Fred Witherow. Hey, thank you so much, Fred, for your support. Thank you, Fred. Fred, I thought we were live on X. If we're not, I'm sorry. I thought we were. I can check, but I thought we were already live on X, Fred. Oh, it's not? I'll turn it on right now. I didn't even know we weren't on live on X. I'm turning it on right now. If it works. Sorry about that, Fred. We're now live on X. Whew. Guys, what's my final guess? I'm not very confident in this. I'm just going to guess Trump, but I'm not confident in it because I don't know who else it would be. And I think it's weird if it's the Easter Bunny and they just scheduled this whole thing 3 hours before the Easter Bunny. But I'm really not confident in it. So I would take the field over Trump and the Easter Bunny. I would take the field over them too. But I don't know who in particular it would be. So if I was forced to pick one person, I would say that, but I'm not confident. Thank you. Switch the channel for your support. Oh, hold on. Here it is. Here it is.
On the promise to secure our homeland and deport violent alien criminals from our communities. That is why the American people overwhelmingly reelected him back to this office, and it's why the American people defeated the Democrat Party in devastating fashion. Today we have officially learned Democrat officials still refuse to accept the will of the American people. Maryland Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen rushed to Dulles Airport this morning to fly to El Salvador, potentially using taxpayer dollars, to demand the release of deported, illegal, alien MS-13 terrorists. The Democrats and the media in this room have continually and wrongly labeled Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia as a Maryland father. There is no Maryland father. Let me reiterate. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an illegal alien, MS-13 gang member and foreign terrorist who was deported back to his home country. And when Kilmar Abrego Garcia was originally arrested, he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money covering the ears, mouth, and eyes of presidents on various currency denominations. This is a known MS-13 gang symbol of hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. Abrego Garcia was also arrested with 2 other well-known members of the vicious MS-13 gang. And 2 separate judges found that Abrego Garcia was a member of MS-13, and that finding has never been disputed. And just this morning, it was revealed through Maryland court documents that Abrego Garcia's wife petitioned for an order of protection against him for 2 instances of domestic violence in May of 2021. And here is the order right here. The court ordered that the respondent committed the following acts of abuse. Once in May of 2021, assault in any degree. And on May 4th of 2021, he punched and scratched his wife, ripped off her shirt, and grabbed and bruised her. This is from a court in Maryland. So not only are Democrats rushing to defend an illegal criminal foreign terrorist gang member, but also an apparent woman beater. To set all of that aside, the basic fact that he was illegally inside our country and had a lawful deportation order made him subject to removal back to his home country of El Salvador. And if he ever ends up back in the United States, he would immediately be deported again. Nothing will change the fact that Abrego Garcia will never be a Maryland father. He will never live in the United States of America again. And the United States Supreme Court ruled unanimously that the President of the United States and the Secretary of State could not be compelled to forcibly retrieve this citizen of El Salvador who is currently locked up in a maximum security prison in his home country due to his MS-13 membership. To remind the media and the Democrat Party, MS-13 are among the most vicious and dangerous individuals in this world. They pose a direct threat to the United States, El Salvador, and any other country who maintains basic law and order. MS-13 rapes innocent girls and women, runs sex trafficking operations, murders for sport, and terrorizes law-abiding people. That's why El Salvador President Bukele made it clear this week that he will not be releasing this MS-13 gang member from his prison. But that is not enough. All of that is not enough to stop the Democrat Party from their lies. The number one issue they are focused on right now is bringing back this illegal alien terrorist to America. But where are the Democrats applauding the fact that southern border crossings just hit a historic low? Where are the Democrats supporting our brave men and women of law enforcement who are putting their lives on the line every single day to arrest the violent illegal alien invaders that the previous administration allowed into our country? And where are the Democrats when innocent Americans are victimized by illegal criminals that Joe Biden let in? It's appalling and sad that Senator Van Hollen and the Democrats applauding his trip to El Salvador today are incapable of having any shred of common sense or empathy for their own constituents and our citizens. Nobody knows this more than the woman standing to my right, Patty Morin, whose beautiful daughter Rachel was brutally maimed and murdered at the hands of an illegal alien in August of 2023. Patty no longer has her daughter because of the failed Democrat Party's open border, and these are policies that President Trump is bringing an end to. Patty should not have to be here today, but she is. And we are grateful and we are honored for her willingness and her request to share her powerful story with the world. Thank you, Patty, for being here.
Thank you. A lot of you don't know the whole story about Rachel and about the crime that was committed against her. Even us, her family, we didn't know all the details. They kept most of it close to their chest, the detectives, because they didn't want to do anything to hurt the case. They wanted to keep the integrity of the case, so they kept everything close. I sat for the last 2 weeks in her trial, and we saw layer upon layer upon layer of evidence against the accused, an illegal immigrant from El Salvador. And the things that we thought, well, maybe this might have happened, we didn't know, but when we were at the trial, we got all the puzzle pieces. And I want to share some of those things with you. You know that Rachel's a 37-year-old mother. She has 5 children. We've walked the trail for the last 25 years that we've lived in Maryland. It's a safe place for our family. It's where we go to get a little bit of New England, because that's where we're from, New England. When she went on that trail that day, she was not planning on dying. She wasn't planning on walking to her death. She was planning on going to the grocery store with her girls afterwards. Victor Martinez, he waited for her. He waited for her to come closer. He saw her. He saw that there was nobody around. He attacked her. He dragged her 150 feet, blood gushing from her head. It left a 150-foot trail of her blood to the culverts, where he picked her up, he threw her against the wall of the tunnel, and he raped her. But before he did that, he stopped on that trail, and rocks, still stained with her blood, he used them to hammer her head against those rocks. They say at least 20 times they could count the cuts in her head. They said that when they did the autopsy, and I've seen the pictures, there's a 6-inch square in the back of her head where the skull is shattered the way that you would crush an eggshell in pieces. 3/4 of her brain hemorrhaged. Her right and left side of her face bashed in. Her beautiful face bashed in. Her head bashed in. Broken bones, fractures. He takes and he drags her some more. He drags her through the thorn bushes. She has all the scrapes and cuts on her body. There wasn't 1 inch of her body that didn't have some kind of injury, whether it's bruising, broken bones, contusions, the scratches. She had a fractured rib, fractured nose, fractured skull. And then he takes her into the tunnel and he picks her up. He throws her against the wall. Blood is gushing from her head. Her hair is soaked in blood. And they showed us pictures of her body against the wall, outlined. The blood outlined her body. And you could see where the blood ran down around her as he was raping her. And then he threw her down and raped her some more. And then he strangled her because he didn't want her to be able to live to tell the story. They said that when they did the autopsy on her neck, that one of the things they do is they open up the neck and they look to see how far the injury is. And they went all the way down as far as an injury is possible, hemorrhaging in the muscles because of how strong and violent the grip was around her. These are the kind of people that have no compulsion. Like, to them, this is nothing. And when he was sitting in the courtroom, he actually looked like he thought he was going to be set free. There was no remorse on his face at all. This person took my daughter so violently and so gruesomely and so graphically that they sealed the pictures, because I don't want my granddaughters to see these pictures. These are the kind of criminals President Trump wants to remove from our country. These are the kind of criminals that we need to remove from our country. We are American citizens. Why should we allow people like this, violent criminals that have no conscience at all, to murder our mothers, our sisters, our daughters? What? I don't understand why there's even any kind of problem with this. And it's not that it's political, like the left or the right, although I understand different parties have used it in the past. But we have to look at it as we are American citizens. We need to protect our families, our borders, our children. I don't care about politics. Well, I do, but I want to preserve life. And that's the only reason why I have taken and spoken about Rachel all this time. If you're a mother here in the room, can you imagine standing there alive? You're alive, and someone comes and puts their hands into your chest and rips out your heart? That's what it feels like. It feels like a part of you is being ripped out of you. You can't even describe the pain. Just like you can't describe to your husband what it feels like to carry a baby in your womb, or to feel those first kicks, or to know just intuitively if it's a boy or a girl. It's only a thing that a mother knows. Why are we not protecting the American citizens? It's just common sense. Why are we not protecting our children? And to have a senator from Maryland who didn't even acknowledge or barely acknowledged my daughter and the brutal death that she endured, leaving her 5 children without a mother and now a grandbaby without a grandmother, so that he can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen. Why does that person have more right than I do, or my daughter, or my grandchildren? I don't understand this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to say that as a mother and as an American citizen, the president and our entire team, and I hope people in this room are grateful for your willingness to come here and your request to share your daughter's story. And I think the country hears you loud and clear. So thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Patty or for me? No?
I have a question.
No? Anybody? Okay. We'll see you all later. The president will be at his dinner later this evening. Thank you.
Thank you for being here this morning.
No questions?
Thank you.
No questions? Please. I thought it was a press briefing. One person said, I have a question, and then she didn't take that question. And then nobody else had questions? That was very strange. That aspect of it, I mean, the other aspect of it aside, that was just weird, because it's supposed to be a press briefing. So you would think reporters are sitting there saying, okay, there's going to be questions at the end. So just to be clear, that wasn't really a press briefing. That was an announcement. Okay, I don't really know what just happened there. I'm genuinely shocked that there were no questions. I'm stunned. Because you could have asked questions about anything. You could have asked questions about a different topic. All right, so anyways, what we basically just saw is the first part of it was Karoline Leavitt, the press secretary, coming out and defending the administration's policy on Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia, and saying that he's not going to be saying that they haven't done anything wrong, sending him to prison in El Salvador, and there was some new claim about him being found with certain kind of money, I think, in 2019 on him. I'm not sure where that claim comes from. I don't know the details of it. She said that was compelling evidence he was in MS-13. Then she also read some sort of report claiming that he had physically abused his wife. Now, I do know his wife. I don't want to say I know. I'm pretty sure I saw his wife give a press conference in the last couple of days where she was very upset, saying she wanted him back in the country. Anyways, though, but just facts here. Kilmar Abrego Garcia has never been charged with a crime, according to public records, in El Salvador or the U.S., just to be clear on that. So I can't speak to, I'm just going over what happened, though. She basically came out and defended the administration's policy on Kilmar Abrego Garcia, read this accusation about him being about him physically mistreating his wife, said this thing about the cash found on him. Again, I don't have the details of that. You can rewind it if you want to watch it. And then the rest of, basically, that went on for a few minutes, and then the rest of the press conference, the press briefing, in which no questions were asked, weirdly, the rest of the press briefing was Patty Morin, who's, if I have this right, Patty Morin's daughter was killed last year in Maryland, and wasn't she killed, the daughter was killed by an undocumented immigrant from El Salvador. Do I have that right? And the White House actually posted about this today. Yeah, I mean, this is basically, the White House posted something about this today. This was basically the message of the White House, I think, today, because I can show you this from the White House website right here. You'll see it in a second. it says, hold on, I'll show you. This is from the White House website. Rachel Morin, a mom of 5, was brutally murdered by an illegal immigrant. Where were the Democrats then? So I think that was basically the message the White House was trying to get out from this appearance thing, because this was literally posted today on the White House website. So I have to think that this is basically the message that the White House was intending to get out there today. This is on their website right now. But to be clear, the Rachel Morin case is a different case than the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case. Kilmar Abrego Garcia has nothing to do. He was not involved in the death of Rachel Morin, the murder of Rachel Morin, just to be clear. And then you can see on the White House page, which was posted before this briefing, it says, where is it here? It says, Patty Morin, hold on. Why is this not behaving? Oh, I see. Hold on 1 second here. I'll just tell you what it says at the bottom there. It says, Patty Morin, Rachel's mom, slams their silence while Senator Chris Van Hollen flies to El Salvador to defend an illegal immigrant MS-13 gang member. Again, the accusation of him being an MS-13 gang member. So it sort of seems like maybe this was a White House response today to Chris Van Hollen. Senator Chris Van Hollen today went to El Salvador. He's a Democratic senator, and he was he wanted to meet with Kilmar Abrego Garcia and help get him released. And he did that appearance today. He did a press conference which I might end up showing you to give you the other side of the version put out by the White House of this whole story. But I do wonder whether this whole event today that was scheduled about 3 hours ago is a response to Van Hollen, because literally on the White House page that you're looking at, and I'll post a link to this page so you can see it yourself in the chat, but literally on this page that the White House posted today, it echoes some of the language used in the appearance today. It talks about Rachel Morin, who was the special guest today. And at the bottom, under my banner there, it says, Patty Morin, Rachel's mom. It says, Rachel Morin, a mom of 5, was brutally raped and murdered by an illegal immigrant in Maryland. Where were Democrats then? Patty Morin, Rachel's mom, slams their silence while Senator Chris Van Hollen flies to El Salvador to defend an illegal immigrant MS-13 gang member. Well, what I'll do is, before the stream ends, since we've heard the White House side of things, I will play you what Chris Van Hollen had to say today from El Salvador, so you can see that as well. But again, but all of this aside, no matter what the topic today, I will say I was just flabbergasted, and I don't use that word much, that I only heard one reporter say they had a question, and then I didn't see who it was, but Karoline Leavitt refused to take a question from that person. I don't know if it was somebody from CNN or what, but I mean it is billed as a press briefing, and you don't have to ask about this topic. So that was a chance for anybody in that room to raise their hand and ask anything they wanted of Karoline Leavitt, and not a peep. So I don't, unless I missed people raising their hands. Maybe I missed it. Maybe somebody else said I have a question, or maybe somebody raised their hand and I didn't see it. But there were a few seconds there where somebody could have asked something. So I couldn't believe that there were no questions. Again, you could ask it about the economy if you wanted to. I mean, there's plenty. Reporters normally are jumping out of their seats to ask questions whenever they get a chance. One of our viewers thinks it's from shock, but yeah. So it was really odd to me, the ending. It's very strange. I don't know, maybe they thought it was like a weird vibe and they didn't want to ask a question. One of our viewers said out of respect for the mother. I understand what you're saying, but again, it's a White House press secretary saying, anybody have any questions for her or for me? So you could have asked something. Anyways, so. Did several have their hands up? I'll have to look again at that. One of our viewers said several had their hands up. I'm looking, all right, hold on. I'm going to show you a freeze frame. Here's a freeze frame. Okay, here is when she asked. Okay, so let's look at this. You'll see it on your screen in a second. So there's one person with a hand up right there. I don't see many hands up, though. Hold on. I'm going to replay this here. That's not live, by the way. It says live, but now it doesn't say live. Yes, so
I have a question.
No.
Hold on.
Anybody?
Hold on. Let me show you here.
Okay. We'll see you all later. No?
I have a question.
No. Anybody?
Let me get me off the screen. So I do see, okay, hold on. There are people with their hands up. There are people with their hands up. Now just one person said something.
Hears you loud and clear, so thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Patty or for me?
Okay, so
No?
what you're going to see is I see one person there with their hand up, one person there with their hand up. I do see 3 hands up for what it's worth. Now, there could have been a lot more hands up. But I do see at least 3 hands up. So she could have taken a question. So part of the reason, I guess, for there being no, I'm surprised there were not a lot more hands up and some other people are not saying anything. I mean, there's a lot of people not raising their hands. Oh, I see a 4th hand up. I see a hand up right here. Where is it? That guy right there. So I see 4 hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it appears she just ignored people with their hands up. I'm surprised there's not a lot more hands up. Who cares? I care. I care about what happened in a press briefing. Anyways, I think it was a very strange situation. Very strange situation. Okay. By the way, let me say a quick thanks. I owe a couple thank yous. Then I'll take some comments from you guys. Thank you to Ann Jung, Chappie, Context, Bill Ward, sorry, thank you, Bill Ward, Context, Tank 4 Ward, Owen Gett, JTAC, JD63, Sean TV, Kells, HM Doppelganger, Lee Elmore, Eddie C, Angry Tacos Network, Michael, hold on a second here. Then we'll take a few comments. I just owe some thank yous from before. Dingier Pillow Network, Michael, hang on a second here. I think it's a little small. Michael McIsaac, the Car Czar, and also Sean TV. Sean says the word circus comes to mind. That's what Sean said. Denise says it shut off too early. She answered questions on the way out. Is that true? I mean, so we didn't see that on the White House feed. Did she come back and answer questions? Hold on. I might be able to get, if it's true, I'll let you know. No, well, I don't know where, a viewer said that, I don't know where you're seeing that because I just watched another feed. Which didn't show that as well. So I don't know where you're seeing that. I didn't see it. She left the room. She literally walked out of the room. I can see it. So I don't know why you're saying that because she walked out of the room. Unless she walked back in the room after. I don't know where you saw that. Bien Lazarou says it was a briefing, not in Q&A. Well, it's normally called a White House press briefing where people ask questions. So if it was a press briefing in the sense of not the usual press briefing, that distinction in the language was not made by the White House. KC says, I see only one hand up. Well, there clearly are more hands up, but anyways. But that aside, KC says, I think it is completely fine to not have her make that mother answer a bunch of questions. She has been through enough. That's fine. That's her choice. But then you shouldn't be, if you don't genuinely want to take questions, then you shouldn't say, anyone have any questions for me or Patty Morin? Because she did say that. Now, if you don't want to take questions, that's your choice. But she did literally, the words came out of her mouth. Does anyone have any questions for Patty Morin or me? I don't know, she might have said Patty or me or whatever she said. But again, no one's making her say that. So I understand your point that maybe she wouldn't want to have questions. But then you could just end it and say, we're not taking questions. Brian Leggett says the White House feed cut out early. Fox News showed the mother answer a question from a reporter. Is that true? Let me see. Oh, hold on a second. Okay, I have the ending. I have the ending for you. So Karoline Leavitt did not answer any questions, but there was one question. Yes, I do see the end where the mother, where Patty Morin says something. Thank you. So I'm going to show you that right now because I got the other feed I can show you that from. All right, so let me show you here. Here's the ending. I'll show you the whole ending. This is a replay from before.
Patty, or for me? No?
Give me one moment.
No, or for me?
Loud and clear, so thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Patty, or for me? No?
I have a question.
No? Anybody? Okay. We'll see you all later. The president will be at his dinner later this evening. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Ms. Moore.
We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, I'm so sorry
for your loss.
Thank you. Please tell the truth. Exactly. Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Tell how violent it really is. This is about
protecting our children. It's more than just politics or votes or just anything. It's about national security, protecting Americans, protecting our children. Thank you. And thank you for listening. Thank you for being here.
That's the end. Now that wasn't answering a question. That appeared to be something she just said to the press at the end. Okay. Beverly Ray, our viewer, says it is about due process according to the law. Her daughter's murderer got due process and Mr. Garcia did not. Val said that's all that needs to be said. Some of our viewers had a problem with this event today. Some of them did not. Some viewers think the mom was used. Bama fan, for example, says the mom was not used. She wanted to speak her truth. DB101 says one of the worst propaganda uses of a grieving mother. Whereas our viewer, hold on a second here, if I can get this. Our viewer, Ryan Vegantech says, shame on them for letting this lady tell her daughter's story to the people who have been refusing to report it. It's upset so many in the chat. Justin King said they gave her a voice. Clementine says they used her for propaganda. Highline Guitarist says politicized tragedy. No Teo, is it No Teo Green says she definitely wanted to speak. So what I want to do, thank you by the way to all of our moderators who are here, like Bastion Girl, Big Ball of Yarn, Matthew Kohai 3 over there on Twitch. I'm sorry the Facebook streaming hasn't been working today. Linda Belk, Larry, Misha on X, Beth Mythical over there on YouTube. Thank you so much. Here's what I'm going to do. So we just showed you the White House event where they gave their side of the story on Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia. We showed you the whole event. What I'm going to do now is I am going to show you Chris Van Hollen, what he had to say today. He is a senator from Maryland, a Democrat. He went today to try to meet with Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia. And I want to show you what he had to say after he gave a press conference today in El Salvador. So I want to show you that. I'm going to get that on the screen for you right now. And I got to get it up there. It says earlier today. This is in El Salvador. So you can hear what he had to say as well. Earlier today, El Salvador. Now they shot this in portrait mode, I guess. Hopefully I can get the volume up for you. I think the volume is okay on this. And this is, sorry. Controversy over deportation of Abrego Garcia. And then this is Senator Chris Van Hollen. Let me put that up on the screen so you can see that. All right, here we go. Let's start this. Senator Chris Van Hollen, D. Maryland. Okay, done. Let's play this for you now. Maybe I'll put this up because he's like there. Okay, let's go. See if the sound works and everything.
What's that?
Can you repeat that? We just started the live stream.
Can we repeat what?
Just start from the top.
Okay. I'm going to start again with. So I just met with the Vice President of El Salvador. I'm grateful for the meeting. The president is out of the country at this time. So I appreciated the chance to talk to the Vice President about the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Esta mañana estuve platicando con el vicepresidente de la República, el señor Ulloa. Estuvimos y aprecio muchísimo el hecho de que me haya recibido porque el presidente está fuera del país en este momento. Y estuvimos de acuerdo en que vamos a hablar sobre el caso de Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
And we started the conversation on a point of agreement, which is that our two countries should work together to crack down on transnational gangs like MS-13. And I told the Vice President that for over 2 decades, I have worked in my state of Maryland to crack down on MS-13. And look forward to further efforts to make sure that we crack down on violent gangs. I think that's important to underscore because the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia does not have to do with MS-13. If you listen to President Trump and the Trump administration, you would think that the U.S. courts have found that Mr. Abrego Garcia is part of MS-13, but in fact, they have not found that. In fact, recently a U.S. federal court judge said that the Trump administration did not have evidence to support the claim that he had ever been part of MS-13. In fact, Mr. Abrego Garcia is legally in the United States. In fact, an immigration judge found years ago that it would put his life in danger if he was returned to El Salvador. And so he was given protective status and a work permit. And by the way, that was done during the last Trump administration, the last time President Trump was in office, and they never appealed that decision. So I want to emphasize that President Trump and our Attorney General Pam Bondi and the Vice President of the United States are lying when they say that Abrego Garcia has been charged with a crime or is part of MS-13. That is a lie. And this is a lie to cover up what they did. So what did they do? So they illegally abducted Mr. Abrego Garcia from Maryland and sent him to CCOT, which is a notorious prison here in El Salvador. In fact, it's a prison where they say they send the worst of the worst, right? That's where they send the terrorists. Now, the courts of the United States have said there's no evidence to support the charge that he's part of MS-13. So I asked the vice president whether or not El Salvador has any evidence that he's part of MS-13 or has committed a crime. So I asked the vice president if Abrego Garcia has not committed a crime, and the U.S. courts have found that he was illegally taken from the United States, and the government of El Salvador has no evidence that he was part of MS-13. Why is El Salvador continuing to hold him in CCOT? And his answer was that the Trump administration is paying El Salvador, the government of El Salvador, to keep him at CCOT. And I pointed out that neither the government of El Salvador nor the Trump administration has presented evidence to support the claim that he's committed any kind of criminal acts. And so why not release Abrego Garcia today? And he said what President Bukele said the other day at the White House, which that El Salvador can't smuggle Mr. Abrego Garcia into the United States. And I said, I'm not asking him to smuggle Mr. Abrego Garcia into the United States. I'm simply asking him to open the door of CCOT and let this innocent man walk out. And I pointed out that the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, has said that the United States would send a plane to El Salvador to pick him up. And why did she do that? Because the Supreme Court of the United States, in a ruling of 9-0, has said that the Trump administration has to facilitate his return to the United States. Now, there's no evidence that the Trump administration is complying with that order. there's no evidence that they're complying with that. Or in fact, the United States Embassy here has told me they've received no direction from the Trump administration to help facilitate his release. So the Trump administration is clearly in violation of American court orders. But that still leaves the question, why is the government of El Salvador continuing to imprison a man where they have no evidence he's committed any crime and they've not been provided any evidence from the United States that he's committed a crime? So they should just let him go. And they should let him go, and we will find a way to get him from San Salvador to Maryland, the state of Maryland. Because I promised his wife Jennifer, and his mother and his brother and their family, because he has 3 children. Some of them have severe disabilities. I promised them that I would do everything I could to get him out of CCOT. And I won't stop trying, and I can assure the president, the vice president, that I may be the first United States senator to visit El Salvador on this issue, but there will be more, and there will be more members of Congress coming. This is an unsustainable and unjust moment, so it cannot continue this way. I also told his wife and family that I would try to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia while I was here. So I asked the vice president if I could meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia. And he said, well, you need to make earlier provisions to go visit CCOT. I said, I'm not interested at this moment in taking a tour of CCOT. I just want to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia. He said he was not able to make that happen. I asked, he said he needed a little more time. I asked him if I came back next week, whether I'd be able to see Mr. Abrego Garcia. He said he couldn't promise that either. So I asked him if I could get on the phone, either video phone or just a phone, and talk to Mr. Abrego Garcia. So I could just ask him how he's doing so I could report back to his family. He said he could not arrange that. He said maybe if the American embassy were to ask, maybe that could happen. So I will certainly ask the American embassy to ask the government of El Salvador to connect us by phone. I asked him how about his family? How can he talk to his wife so that she can hear his voice? I let him know that the family has requested that. He said he was not sure whether he could make that happen. So we have an unjust situation here. The Trump administration is lying about Abrego Garcia. The American courts have looked at the facts. In fact, the Trump administration lawyer, the government lawyer, admitted to the court that Mr. Abrego Garcia had been mistakenly taken in administrative error, that it was a mistake. But instead of fixing the problem and addressing that injustice, do you know what the Trump administration did? They put that lawyer, who's a 15-year veteran of the Department of Justice, on administrative leave. And berated that lawyer who told the truth to the judge. So I want to just close by reading you what the judge said. This is a federal district court judge, the District of Maryland. And I'm quoting from Judge Zinnes here. As defendants acknowledge, and the defendants here are the government, or the Trump administration, they had no legal authority to arrest him, no justification to detain him, and no grounds to send him to El Salvador, let alone deliver him into one of the most dangerous prisons in the Western Hemisphere. The judge went on to say, and I quote, having confessed grievous error, the defendants, and again, that's the government, that's the Trump administration, having confessed grievous error, they now argue that this court lacks the power to hear the case. And that they lack the power, the court lacks the power to order Abrego Garcia's return. So a U.S. district court judge has ordered the Trump administration to bring him home. The United States Supreme Court, by 9-0 vote, has ordered the administration to facilitate his return. So the Trump administration needs to obey the law. But I'm also asking the government of El Salvador and the president and vice president of El Salvador not to keep a man who was illegally abducted from the United States and charged with no crime to remain in CCOT when as a sovereign country, they have the power to let him go and let him go now.
Porque como país soberano que somos, deberían de dejarlo ir y dejarlo ir ahora.
And I hope they will.
Yo espero que así lo hagan.
Thank you.
Are you concerned whether Mr. Abrego Garcia is still alive?
I don't know about his health status. That's exactly why I wanted to meet with him directly. That's why I wanted to talk to him on the phone. That's why I want to arrange a phone call with his wife. I mean, this is a notorious prison. And the family, this is a guy, again, he just got disappeared off the streets of Maryland. He ends up in, I'm sorry.
Por eso que yo estoy pidiendo que necesito verlo, necesito hablar con él, porque no sabemos cuál es la condición de Abrego García, sencillamente desapareció de la
This is why I want to. This is why I wanted to see him. I also want to say to everybody here, you may know, in the state of Maryland, we have a very wonderful, robust Salvadorian population, and they contribute greatly to our state.
Senador, es una afrenta del gobierno de Bukele al sistema de justicia de Estados Unidos.
No le oigo cuando yo estoy hablando, no puedo oír. ¿Su pregunta cuál es?
Es que si es una afrenta del gobierno de Bukele al sistema de justicia de Estados Unidos.
From the Bukele administration to the United States of America.
Well, I'm asking President Bukele to. Okay, I'm asking President Bukele under his authority as president of El Salvador to do the right thing and allow Mr. Abrego Garcia to walk out of a prison, a man who's charged with no crime, convicted of no crime, and who was illegally abducted from the United States.
Do you maintain any hope that you'll be able to meet with Kilmar?
I'm going to keep pressing. You want to? I will keep pressing in my remaining time here, and I will keep pressing beyond that if necessary.
Última pregunta, por favor, última pregunta.
Después de la reunión que tuvo con el vicepresidente Ulloa, ¿va a generar otras gestiones o qué otra estrategia puede desde el Congreso puede generar usted para reunirse y para garantizar las condiciones del señor Kilmar Garcia? What other strategy do you think that you can undertake, or what other activity are you going to undertake to make sure you know that you can have the release of Mr. Abrego Garcia?
Well, I will say that as a member of Congress, we'd like to work to have good relations between, the people of the United States and the people of El Salvador. And that's why we need to make sure that we keep working to secure justice, because Congress has a very important role to play in the relationship between the United States and the people of El Salvador. And so, for example, the Trump administration is reportedly going to pay the government of El Salvador up to $15 million to house people sent from the United States. 15 million. 15 million. And, I don't think there are going to be a lot of members of Congress that will clearly be unwilling to spend money to keep people like Kilmar Garcia in CCOT because, again, he was illegally abducted from the United States and charged with no crime. So why? So why should the taxpayers of the United States pay the government of El Salvador to lock up a man who was illegally abducted from the United States and committed no crime? Okay. Thank you all very much, gracias.
Muchas
And have
gracias.
a-
Con eso finalizamos.
Okay, so I was showing you what Senator Van Hollen of Maryland had to say today in El Salvador. I was showing that because we had just watched the event at the White House that was billed as a press briefing with a special guest. There ended up being no questions taken, but basically that event, if you haven't seen it, was a few minutes of the press secretary defending the administration's policy on Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia, and then there was a guest speaker who was Patty Morin, who is the mother of a woman who was murdered in Maryland last year by an El Salvadoran, I believe it was an El Salvadoran citizen who was illegally in the U.S., if I have that right. I'll double check that detail for you. And that case did not involve Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia. And most of the White House appearance was Rachel Morin speaking. Hold on a second. I mean, Patty Morin speaking about her daughter, Rachel Morin, about what happened to her. I'd like to just confirm that detail of the Rachel Morin case if I can really fast. And we'll take a few more comments here from you. Yes, Victor Martinez Hernandez was found guilty for the murder of Rachel Morin. He entered the U.S. He came from the U.S. Came to the U.S. from El Salvador and entered illegally in 2023. Okay. So this continues. This whole situation continues to develop. As we talked about earlier, the Supreme Court has said that the Trump administration must facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia to the U.S. The Trump administration does not appear to have taken any positive steps to work towards returning Abrego Garcia to the U.S. The Trump administration claims, at least some from the Trump administration have claimed that facilitate just means not standing in the way if El Salvador moves to return Abrego Garcia, but District Judge Zenas, who is overseeing the Abrego Garcia case right now, said that she does not feel that's a reasonable way to interpret facilitate. So this keeps going. There was a very interesting moment at the end of that Senator Van Hollen appearance, where Senator Van Hollen asked, I think he was asked something like, do you know or do you have concerns whether he's still alive, Abrego Garcia? And Senator Van Hollen said basically, I don't know about his health at all. I've been trying to find out more. I wanted to meet with him. But he hasn't gotten any information about what his physical state is. By the way, a quick thanks to Tikram. And again, what the kind of origin of this case is that in March, Abrego Garcia was deported by the Trump administration to El Salvador, to this notorious prison there. But Abrego Garcia in 2019, a U.S. judge issued an order that he not be sent to El Salvador because of a threat of violence to him if he returned to El Salvador, where he's from. And the Trump administration, I believe multiple times in court after that in recent weeks, has said People from the Trump administration have said in court this was an administrative error, and he was not supposed to be sent to El Salvador. And a district judge and then the Supreme Court ordered the Trump administration to facilitate his being brought back to the U.S. But again, there's no evidence yet that the Trump administration has taken any positive steps to bringing him back. So that's the current basic overview of the situation. Thank you, by the way, to Channeling Gary, JD63, Tikram. And JD63 says, care of Zanti Misfit. Thank you. Thank you also, Alex Osageda. Alex Osageda says, I'm Salvadoran and have supported President Bukele, but I think offering these overseas jail services to appear friendly with Trump was a complete mistake that was bound to cause international issues. That's what Alex thinks. Thank you, PZ Papa Zulu, who says, why would CCOT let one terrorist talk on the phone? Both the El Salvadoran president and the Trump administration have said that he is a terrorist. They have not released public information, public evidence of him carrying out or plotting terrorist activities. I don't know what kind of private evidence they have of this. But again, he has not been charged with a crime in the U.S. or El Salvador. I cannot speak to what kind of information the Trump administration has that they have not released publicly. Thank you, by the way, thank you also for your support, Rohady Rodriguez and I Need Coffee, and also Motivational Living. Sean TV, Micah Cernkovich, Kay Chang, Matt Parker, Brian Leggett, Aaron Aware, Ann Jung, Chappie, thank you. I want to take a few more comments here from you guys. And again, the stream was not intended to focus on this issue. We came on the air because at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time, the White House press secretary suddenly announced that there was going to be a press briefing with a special guest. What that ended up being was an appearance all about, well, the press secretary coming out and talking for a few minutes about Kilmar, Abrego, Garcia, and then Patty Morin, the mother of Rachel Morin, who was murdered in Maryland by an El Salvadoran illegal immigrant last year. She spoke about what happened to her daughter. That was most of the appearance. And then at the end, Karoline Leavitt says, does anybody have any questions for me or Patty Morin? I showed you in the room, there were several, I counted 4 people raising their hands. No one was called on. One reporter said, I have a question. I don't know who that was. Karoline Leavitt said that she was not going to take a question from that reporter. And then she said something like, no, meaning like nobody has questions. And then it ended. So there were no questions. There were several reporters with their hands up. I was surprised that more reporters didn't have their hands up or shout out a question or something. It's kind of a strange ending to the event. And I believe that the White House intention for this event today was to put out this message, because they have also posted something on their website today, which certainly seems relevant to the event they held that they called a press briefing, which is right here, which I showed you earlier. This is from the White House website. You'll see it in a second when I get it on the screen for you. The White House posted and said, Rachel Morin, a mom of 5, was brutally murdered by an illegal immigrant. Where were Democrats then? And at the bottom of this, it says, Rachel Morin, a mom of 5, was brutally raped and murdered by an illegal immigrant in Maryland. Where were the Democrats then? And then it says there behind my banner, which I'm having a little bit of an issue now showing this to you, but behind my banner it says, Patty Morin, Rachel's mom, slams their silence while Senator Chris Van Hollen flies to El Salvador to defend an illegal immigrant MS-13 gang member. And in person, Karoline Leavitt also mentioned Chris Van Hollen's visit. So it seems to me like this event today may have been intended to be a response to Chris Van Hollen, Senator Van Hollen, going to El Salvador today and giving that press conference in El Salvador, which I just showed you. So we showed you both events. If you missed the two events and you want to go see either of them, you can rewind the stream. We showed you both of them in their entirety. It seems that one of our viewers, the Watchman, thinks that Abrego Garcia might not be alive. We do not have any information on his well-being, on his health, as Senator Van Hollen said. That was the special guest. Ruby Sandwich says, who was the special guest? The special guest was Rachel Morin, who I believe has spoken at congressional hearings previously. One of our viewers, I'm sorry, not Rachel Morin, my mistake. It was Patty Morin, the mother of Rachel Morin, who I believe has spoken at some congressional hearings before. One of the viewers had said she had spoken at one or more of President Trump's rallies, which may have been true. I don't remember who spoke at the various rallies. So, but I just wanted to mention that. I don't know if I can find this out. Yes, so I'm looking at an article about Patty Morin right now from last year. It's an Arizona Republic article which says that she had appeared she appeared at various Trump campaign stops. So the reason I'm saying this is just for perspective. This was not the first time she had told her story publicly. That's all I'm saying about this, just to give you some background on who she is. Because you might wonder, is this like the first time she's spoken publicly about this? She has spoken publicly about this before. Again, I'm not casting any judgment on her. I'm just giving you background for the people who are not familiar with her. Yes, and now Mrs. Alabama says she is from Maryland, and this happened, the Rachel Morin killing happened in Maryland, I believe, if I have that correct. Again, her speaking today kind of lends itself to it gives credence to the belief that this White House event today seemed designed to respond to Senator Van Hollen's appearance, his visit to El Salvador today, and Senator Van Hollen's press conference in El Salvador today. Our viewer Blue Star had written to me before and said at least 5 people raised their hands, and she says no one. And sent me a clip. Yeah, we looked at a screen grab of the video before. But I don't think the story is going away. I'll also say this. You could have different theories about this. Clearly, this is a story that both the White House, the Republicans, the White House, Trump administration, and Democrats are emphasizing. Swisher mentioned to me, thank you, Swisher, that Pam Bondi said we are releasing additional information on Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Okay, so This was posted today by, I guess about an hour ago? About an hour and a half ago, this was posted by the Attorney General's, by Pam Bondi. So it says, Police Department Interview 5091, Gang Field Interviews. This is from I believe when he was taken into custody looking for work at a Home Depot in 2019. It says, Detective Blank observed 4 individuals in the parking lot of Home Depot. 2 of the individuals reached into their waistbands and discarded several unknown items under a parked vehicle. All 4 were stopped by Hyattsville officers. One of them immediately recognized this person as a member of MS-13. 2 small plastic bottles containing marijuana were found in the scene. All 4 individuals were transported for interviews. Members, they talk about this person, Christian Hernandez Romero, which is not Kilmar Abrego Garcia. They talk about how officers know him to be an active MS-13 gang member. Officers interviewed Kilmar Abrego Garcia. During the interview, officers observed he was wearing a Chicago Bulls hat and a hoodie with rolls of money covering the eyes, ears, and part of the presidents on the separate denominations. Okay, so I was confused. I thought she was saying he had money. I thought the press secretary was saying he had money. Maybe she was saying this. This document appears to say that when he was taken into custody outside a Home Depot in 2019, he was observed wearing a Chicago Bulls hat and a hoodie. And the hoodie, it says a hoodie with rolls of money covering the eyes, ears, and mouth of presidents on the separate denominations. So he did have money? I'm confused. It's a little confusing to me what this means. A hoodie, is it a hoodie with rolls of money on the hoodie? Or did he have rolls of money? It's not exactly clear. Is it a hoodie with the money on it? Is it a hoodie with pictures of rolls of money where the eyes, ears, and mouths of presidents are covered in the picture of the money on the hoodie? Yeah, I mean, Zelgeth says printed on the hoodie maybe. It kind of sounds, it's not written perfectly clearly. It sounds like maybe, yes, officers know such clothing to be indicative of the Hispanic gang culture. Now, I can't remember. I mean, it's a little confusing the way it's written. So this, to be clear, and I thought she said, and I'd have to go back and listen to what the press secretary said. I thought she was saying he was found with rolls of money. I can't remember exactly what she said, but this document appears to say he was found with a hoodie that depicted money in a way that is indicative of the Hispanic gang culture. The meaning of the clothing is to represent see no evil, hear no evil, and say no evil. Wearing the Chicago Bulls hat represents that they are a good member of standing with MS-13. Then it says, officials contacted a past proven and reliable source of information who advised Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an active member of MS-13 with the Western Clique, which is in New York, I believe. The confidential source further advised he is the rank of Checky with the marker of Chile. So just to be clear, this report has been talked about publicly before. The Judge Zenas, who was overseeing Abrego Garcia's case, did not find the evidence in this report very compelling. She, about a week or two ago, said in a document that I will show you if I can find it here, right here. This is a ruling from that Judge or a memorandum from that judge in Abrego Garcia's proceedings from April 6th of this year. And she says, in there, she says, hold on, I'll show you, about that evidence. She says here, the evidence against Abrego Garcia consisted of nothing more than his bull's hat and a hoodie and a vague, uncorroborated allegation from a confidential informant claiming he belonged to MS-13's Western clique in New York, a place he had never lived. So I just want to clarify, that document I just showed you, I don't believe the document had been publicly released, the one I just showed you, but information about the information in that document I just showed you, the general idea of that information had been publicly discussed. Now, is there other documents that she released today? Let's see. Okay, so that document was released by the Attorney General. Then there's this document. I'm just going through this. This is, I believe, a document again from his being taken into custody on in front of a Home Depot or near a Home Depot looking for work in 2019. This says, okay, it was talking about specifically about Abrego Garcia, immigration charge. It says here, Abrego Garcia was validated as a member of the MS-13 gang. But again, it says, it cites this informant they cited. It says Abrego Garcia denied that he has, states he has no information about gangs or human drug smuggling. I'm just keep going for the documents here. What else? I'm just trying to figure out what was posted about him today by the Attorney General's office. The board's decision in the above referenced case. This is from December 2019. And it says, I have to go through this. It says, the respondent argues that the immigration judge clearly erred in determining he is a verified member of MS-13 because there is no reliable evidence in the record to support such a finding. This is, says, we adopt and affirm the immigration judge's ruling, danger ruling. The immigration judge appropriately considered allegations of gang affiliation and said he has not demonstrated he is not a danger to property or persons. I'm not a lawyer. I haven't even looked at this yet. Doesn't look like there's new evidence in this document here. Bond memorandum. Okay, there's no explanation in her post about this document. All right, again, this says, although the court is reluctant to give evidentiary weight to the respondent's clothing as an indication of gang affiliation, the fact that according to the original government claim, I think it was a local police claim, that a past proven and reliable source of information verified the respondent's gang membership rank and gang name is sufficient to support that the respondent is a gang member, and the respondent has failed to present evidence to rebut that assertion. So again, these are documents from 2019. Just going through them, this was posted by the Attorney General today. I don't see any kind of new evidence that we didn't already know about. What we already knew is that in 2019, I believe this is the local police, the Prince George County Police Department, said that he was wearing clothing suggesting he was in a gang, and said they had an informant who they considered reliable who says he was an MS-13. He denied that he was an MS-13. And we also know that the current judge overseeing his case did not find that evidence reliable. The current judge overseeing his case pointed out that the informant said he was in a branch of MS-13 in New York, which is a place he had never lived. Anyways, I don't know if he's an MS-13 or not. But just to be clear, I don't want to get lost on this. I was just going through that because I saw that it was posted an hour and a half ago by Attorney General Pam Bondi. You can go to her social media and find the documents. I was just trying to figure out what's in there, just quickly to give you a basic summary. But remember, the basic facts of this case are that Abrego Garcia had a court ruling from 2019 saying don't deport him. I believe after this information, after he had been taken into custody, by the way, after that happened, the ruling in 2019 by a judge said, do not deport him to El Salvador because he faces potential harm there. That's the general, that's not the exact language used, but that's the general idea. And then in spite of that order, he was sent to El Salvador back in March, about a month ago, by the Trump administration and put into its El Salvador notorious prison. The Trump administration, Trump administration has admitted in court that was due to an administrative error. He was not supposed to be sent to El Salvador. The district court judge and the Supreme Court have ordered that the Trump administration facilitate his being returned to the U.S. But as far as anyone is aware publicly, there is no sign that the Trump administration has thus far taken any kind of positive step toward bringing him back to the U.S. So that's where we're at right now. I appreciate the viewer mentioning that the Attorney General Bondi posted that. I'm not aware of anything in that post that, I mean, there's that detail in the post about some of what was on the clothing. Which we hadn't heard before. Daniel Lombard says he was here illegally. He came to the country illegally. I have read that he did eventually have a work permit. Senator Van Hollen said in his press conference that currently, as of a month ago or whatever, he was not here illegally in the sense of it was known he was here, and I believe he had a work permit to work. I don't specifically know about his status. He originally came to the country illegally. Yes, you can. I'll just show you this right here about his current status. Right here you'll see it in a second. From AP, they say in 2019, October, so he was taken into custody at the Home Depot, I think in March. In October of 2019, an immigration judge denied Abrego Garcia's asylum request, but granted him protection from being deported back to El Salvador because of a well-founded fear of gang persecution, according to his case. He was released and ICE did not appeal. Abrego Garcia checked in with ICE yearly, while the Department of Homeland Security issued him a work permit, his attorney said in court filings. So he had some sort of Department of Homeland Security work permit, for whatever that's worth. And then in February, the Trump administration designated MS-13 as a foreign terrorist organization and sought to remove identified gang members as expeditiously as possible. Abrego Garcia was pulled over on March 12th with his son. He called his wife from jail and said authorities pressed him about MS-13. They asked about a photo they had of him playing basketball in a public court and his family's visits to a restaurant serving Mexican and Salvadoran food. I think this is maybe his lawyer, but he would repeat the truth again and again. He was not in the gang, said, is that his lawyer? Anyway, but he was sent to, his wife, that's his wife. Vasquez Sura is his wife. Vasquez Sura. Anyways, he was sent there, but after he was sent to El Salvador, the Trump administration said in court that this was an administrative error that he was sent to El Salvador. Okay, so again, I know it's complex. I'm just trying to get you some of the details here. Anyways. I don't think we've heard the last of this story. I will say that. I'm sure there will be more to come on this story. I know there's more to come on this story in court without dragging this out longer. But just to be clear here, this is a story from last night in the Washington Post. Judge says Justice Department must provide details of attempts to return illegally deported man. A federal judge yesterday said she will require the Trump administration to produce records and sworn answers about the U.S. government's attempts or lack thereof to return a Maryland resident who was apprehended by immigration authorities and illegally sent to a notorious prison in El Salvador. The decision from the U.S. District Judge Paula Zenas, where she left open the possibility of a contempt ruling against the Trump administration, marks another escalation in the legal showdown with the White House. The case has widespread implications, with Justice Department lawyers arguing that the judge lacks the authority to force them to coordinate with the Salvadoran government to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia back to the U.S. The judge said yesterday it's going to be 2 weeks of intense discovery. The Trump administration has repeatedly bucked Zenas' orders to provide information about what it is doing to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia. That tone of defiance was underscored this week by President Trump and Salvadoran President Bukele during his visit to the White House, where he and Trump administration officials repeated unsubstantiated claims that the sheet metal apprentice who fled El Salvador as a teenager has ties to MS-13. Anyway, so there's going to be more court proceedings over this. And the judge said that she could make a finding of contempt of court. And they say here in the Post, the Trump administration has sought to center the case on unsubstantiated claims that Abrego Garcia has ties to a clique of MS-13 that is based in upstate New York, a place the judge Zenas noted Abrego Garcia has never lived. Administration officials have pointed to an immigration detention hearing in 2019 at which a judge declined to immediately release Abrego Garcia because of gang-related allegations supplied by a police detective in Maryland's Prince George's County, who, according to police sources, was later indicted for giving confidential case information to a commercial sex worker whom he was paying for sex. I don't know if that has any bearing on what he said, what the detective said. During the 2019 hearing, the immigration judge ordered that Abrego Garcia be held pending a full hearing months later, at which a different judge ruled in his favor. That judge ordered him released and prohibited the U.S. government from sending him back to El Salvador. And again, the Supreme Court last week said that Judge Zenas had properly instructed the administration to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return to the U.S. All right, so there will be more to come on this. And I don't know the specifics about this informant that the local police, the Prince George's County Police, heard from in 2019. By the way, thank you, Sean, for your support. Sean says, why is the administration so afraid of taking these matters before the courts? So again, we have different views in our chat about this whole situation. Our viewer, Eric Rudolph, thinks we are in a constitutional crisis. Yo-Yo Pro John says he was an illegal immigrant. He did enter the country illegally. I think at the age of 16 or something, but I can't remember exactly. All right. Well, look, if you missed it, we showed you the Trump administration event. We showed you the entire event. We showed you Senator Chris Van Hollen, Democrat, in his whole press conference in El Salvador today. So you can go back and watch both of those. You can see both sides. I think at this point, I'm going to wrap up this broadcast. Came on, did not know we were going to be focusing on this at all. I thought there was a chance it'd be the Easter Bunny as a special guest in the press briefing. But it was not. It turned out to be Patty Morin, the mother of a woman who was murdered in Maryland last year by an illegal immigrant from El Salvador, not Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap up the stream, but I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this case. And if there's other big news on this case or other stories, I will certainly come on the air and do another live stream. So I really appreciate you guys being here today. Really appreciate you joining the channel and watching the channel. And if you want, you can subscribe, follow Agenda Free TV. We cover all kinds of live breaking news without an agenda. Agenda Free TV. And turn the notifications on. There could be some big news event at some random time. I can't tell you in advance. So if you want to know whenever we're going live and not miss a stream, we have a free notification system. It's easy to sign up. It's free. It works really well. You get sent a notification whenever we go live. So the mods will post the link to that in the chat. You can also find the link for the notifications in the description of this video on YouTube and Facebook. So sign up for the notifications. And also, I will post updates about various stories. There's other news going on I got to catch up with when I get out the year. But I'll post updates about various breaking news on my X account, which is @Lookner. Follow me there for breaking news updates, @Lookner on X. Okay, also, I want to thank our moderators who are awesome. They have been here as usual, keeping things in the chat civil and respectful. We got people with different views in our chat, which I think is great that we have people with different views who can come and talk about stuff, but it's got to be civil and respectful. And our mods are the ones who make that possible. So thank you so much to our moderators. Over there on YouTube, Raven, Riley, Beth Mythical, over there, JA&P. Sorry that we couldn't be on, Facebook streaming was not working today. So if anybody normally watches on Facebook and is watching this on one of the other platforms, I'm really sorry about that. I don't have control over that though. Thank to all of our other YouTube moderators who've been there. Over there on Twitch, Bash and Girl, Seriro, LB Prairie Dawn, Matthew Kohai 3, McBritches, Surly Dev, on X, Linda Belk, Larry, Misha, and all of our other moderators. And our Facebook moderators who usually mod too, like Kay, Larry, Body, Margaret, Riley, Christina, Neal, Paul, Anderson, thank you. And thanks to everybody who donated to the channel during the broadcast. It's really kind of you. Your support is what keeps this channel on the air. I owe a thanks to Katya T. Thank you. I think I thanked Ty Crom. John Wolf. John Wolf said El Salvador cannot return a citizen of El Salvador back to the USA who came here illegally, the El Salvadoran vice president said. I don't remember exactly what was said. I mean, I'd have to go back to the vice president to the quotes about the vice president from Senator Van Hollen, which we played it, but I don't remember exactly what he said. I mean, one thing that Senator Van Hollen said is he said that the Salvadoran government is saying we can't smuggle him back into the U.S. But Senator Van Hollen said, well, the U.S. would be willing to pick him up. All you need to do is let him out of the jail here, and then we will come pick him up. That's what Senator Van Hollen said. Anyways, thank you so much, John Wolf. I appreciate that. Channeling Gary. Hopefully, I think I thanked everybody else. Let me just make sure. Thanks for your support. If you ever want to donate to the channel, you go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. But again, thanks for supporting the channel and allowing the channel to be on the air. I really appreciate it. Also, let's see here. Oh, we do have a chat, a live chat, where you can chat with other viewers when we're not live. That is on Discord. It's free. A bunch of our viewers like doing that. You can use it's the same link as for the free notifications. So check that out if you'd like, and thanks so much for all you do to our Discord moderators as well. Let's see here. By the way, I'm sorry I couldn't get to. I know there's a lot of comments today, so I'm trying to balance getting to comments and showing the press conferences and giving you some background as well. Hang on a second here. Oh, thanks. Yeah, Matt. Thank you, Matt Parker, for writing in about that. Sorry, I'm just going over some of the other messages here. A bunch of messages. Yeah, Nicole mentioned this. I think I mentioned it earlier in the broadcast. There's some reporting out there saying that this is a different story. I don't want to get into it right now. Like the Washington Post is reporting, Trump administration asks IRS to revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status. I don't really want to get into that right now. It's a different story, but I'll look at it. Maybe I'll post something about it after I get off the air. I gotta look into it after. Thank you for messaging me about that, Nicole. Let's see here. Also, hey, by the way, another good way. What is this? Another way to find out when we're going live, which can be helpful, is if you're following us on X, or if you are on X, follow us on X at Agenda Free TV. I always post there before we go live, and I will post updates about the channel there. So Agenda Free TV on X for those of you who are on X, and for those of you who watch on YouTube, I would strongly recommend turning on the YouTube notifications. Here is how to do that. If you're watching on YouTube, you need to subscribe to the channel first, and then once you subscribe to the channel, there's a bell. You got to click the bell and then choose all notifications. You'll see right there. Click the bell and choose all notifications. So do that if you're watching on YouTube. That's my advice. Let me also thank you to our Facebook subscribers who, we couldn't be on Facebook today because the streaming wasn't working. Hopefully it's fixed by next stream. Their streaming seemed to be having issues. But people like Robert Rial II, Lou Green, Eve Richards, Sharon Klassen Gosselin, Jennifer Ellers, Kay Lowry, Body, Margaret Riley, all of our other Facebook subscribers, thank you so much for subscribing over there. Michael Clayton. Our Twitch subscribers like Gina Pina, Nikki Newark, Trigon J. Mark, Geeg, Matthew Kohai 3, Renton, Bad Toastery, Jeffrayim. Thank you so much for subscribing over there on Twitch. Wall Street and Shaggy, Douthis, thank you. Our YouTube members, thanks so much to all of you for supporting the channel. Like Jay Knows Which, Evelyn in Maine, Gen Xer, Jim, Dolores Wilson, Renee, Chris N, Xylee. By the way, I think a couple broadcasts ago, I thought Chris N was saying something about me, but he was not. So I owe an apology for misinterpreting Chris N. Sorry, Chris N. JD63, thanks for being a member. Evelyn in Maine, Ethereal Planet, Xylee, Jerry Kovacs, Brian Birch, Reese, Dr. McRib, Crypta Maria, Raina Hood, CAC 813, Confidence in God, all of our other members over there on YouTube. And thank you to Evelyn V. Thanks Michelle Diffenderfer for watching, Steffi J, Gigi NYC, Trice 73, Mario Terrace, Set to Chill, A Drums 66, and all of our other viewers, thank you. All right, we're wrapping this up. Well, didn't expect the stream to be all about this topic, but I didn't know that the press briefing was going to be all about it. Well, all about it generally. All right. So that is it for now. Thank you for watching. If you want, you can rewind if you didn't see it and watch the White House press briefing, which was no questions, but an event, and the Senator Van Hollen appearance in El Salvador. That is it for now. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.